This is Debra Ramchurn, the Services Manager of Andover Mind. Our first question for you today is, how did you come to be involved in Andover Mind?
I became involved in Andover Mind back in the 1990s, where I was involved in some of the fundraising events with some of the team then. But I actually started working here at Andover Mind in 2002 as part of the Service User Involvement Project, in which I was a project coordinator.
And how long have you been Services Manager?
I started this last year, which was 2006, so I've been doing it for a year now.
Thank you. Can you tell us how long the centre has been open for and who set it up originally?
Originally, Andover Mind was what was known as the Mental Health Club in Andover, and it started originally in one of the church halls as a lunch club, and it was started off with two care coordinators and a lady called Brenda Grimsdale, because it was recognised that in the local area there was no day service facility for people that experienced mental health problems. And then after moving different venues, they moved here in 1995 when we actually got the tenancy for the centre.
And are there any individuals still involved with Andover Mind who were involved at the start?
We've actually still got two staff that were
Yes.
once volunteers that are still involved and have been very committed throughout the years. And there have been very many service users that we still know of that linked very back in the 80s with us.
Thank you. What services are provided to service users?
The services here, we've actually got 6 services now, and they range from, we have a vocational advice service and a job retention service. We also have our community support service, which works with people out in the community and is led by support time recovery workers. We actually have a base, which is our resource centre, which is provides a drop-in facility and emotional support for the most vulnerable unwell. It also has therapeutic activities such as an art group, a music group, and other groups that are going on. We run an older person service for those suffering from dementia, and that's called the Leckford Group, and that's held out of the centre. And we also have an older person service in which for people that may be suffering from severe enduring mental health problems over 65 years.
And how many users are open to the service at any one time?
We usually range at about 100 service users at any one time, but obviously this may peak or go down as according to need, really.
Have you seen any changes to the service since you first knew it?
Oh gosh, yeah, the service has changed dramatically over the years. It used to be once a whole sort of drop-in centre and no other services outside in the community, and we've actually developed and got more and more services and more contracts to develop services. So, and now obviously we host the Service User Involvement Project, which is now for Winchester, Andover and Eastleigh. So that's quite a big project for us.
Thank you. How would a service user go about getting a referral to Andover Mind?
Service users can't self-refer. How it's actually done is we work in partnership with the community mental health team, and it's discussed at a meeting called the Community Support Services, and the referral comes through that pathway. And in doing so, it really looks at the person's needs and other things such as their risk assessments and goal planning, really.
Are there any circumstances in which a service user who have been discharged by the community mental health team would still be able to access Andover Mind?
They could still use with the Service User Involvement Project, and also if they were still working with the vocational advice service, but that has to be a very sort of clear plan. But otherwise, no, we can't actually fund that service.
Okay. What short-term goals does Andover Mind have?
The short-term goals are really that we really want to develop the Service User Involvement Project, so that'll be starting in Eastleigh in October. We want to have our counselling service that we've recently piloted up and running, and a good client base with that. We also need to be looking at some fundraising and strategies really to actually increase our income, and also how we obtain contracts, bigger contracts in the wider locality really.
I hear that you've recently won a new contract for an initiative called the Fit for Life campaign. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, that's quite exciting actually. We've only just heard about this and hopefully it'll be starting in October. We're actually part of the national campaign programme of moving people. National Mind and the organisation Rethink applied for the big lottery funding, which was 20 million, and we were part of the portfolio of this, in which we have a local community-based project called Fit for Life, and this actually is working with service users that access community mental health team, assertive outreach teams, early intervention teams, and also primary care, working with them around physical activity and mental well-being. So actually it's a funding that we'll have a 3-year programme, and we're hoping to have approximately 80 to 100 service users involved in that.
Thank you very
so
much.
So it's at the very early stages.
Yes, you talked a little bit about the changes that have taken place within Andover Mind. What do you see as the challenges for the future?
I think our biggest challenge is the fact is how we obtain our funds really. We're now sort of challenged by the EU legislation on competitive tendering, so we have to build our expertise in how we seek our funds now. And once upon a time our contract would be one big contract. Now each one of our services we have to competitively tender for, which is actually quite stressful for the service and it's quite challenging. So it's a whole new role for us to be actually going forward.
And finally, in what ways can the Andover community contribute to the service?
The Andover community contribute to us by actually looking at how they can support us with fundraising opportunities, and also about looking at how we can combat stigma and discrimination and actually ensure that we can actually encourage service users to get back out there in the community and not be socially isolated and be more socially included. And also looking at employment opportunities for service users going back into mental health, which is very, very important.
Are there any ways in which members of the community could be involved, perhaps as volunteers?
Yes, we're always open for volunteers to come into our centre. They can be working one-to-one with service users in group activities such as our art group. We have volunteers there. We have the shop, which is actually a good way of us generating income to actually operate the centre. Volunteers with our furniture van. So we actually, if people have got skills or expertise and perhaps would like to work with service users, we encourage mentors as well at the same time.
All right. Thank you very much, Deborah.
Thank you.